Ladies, gentlemen and all variations thereupon, for today's project we're going to be making a ring entirely out of wood. So join me as we do this rather quick and easy build. And the material we're going to make the ring out of is going to be oak. This is an oak veneer, it's actual oak wood that's been cut very thin. And I've got this one, it's got to be unglued. This one is unglued and they're very hard to get unglued. But this one is unglued and I'm just going to cut off this first section here where it was taped down in order to keep it from unfurling, because that's got a mark on it. So I'm going to cut that section off and then I'm going to cut off an area that's long enough for my ring. So if once measured around my finger, I came out with a 68mm circumference to the finger that I want to have the ring on. So what I'm going to need to cut from here is going to be basically 3 times that, because I want to be able to wrap it around 3 times. You'll see why later. To make sure we've got the right width of the ring, we're going to mark out 1 centimetre intervals. And make sure when cutting, you're actually cutting on the right grain. You don't want to cut across the top, because that will put it on a short grain and it will more easily split. You do it along the side, this long grain, so that it will bend a lot easier. And now it's time to plan out the magic writing that we're going to put on the side. If you're wise enough to understand its meaning, then reading it will bring you eternal happiness. It of course says, "This too shall pass." As always, when engraving or cutting, we need to make sure that we do light pressure and multiple passes so that we don't dig out too much in the wrong direction. We can always correct mistakes. In order to make the wood more pliable, we're going to soak it in some warm water. Make sure it's not boiling water, because I guarantee it will spring out. Right, now that's good and soaked. I'm going to move this out of the way if I've got space. And because it's been soaked up, it makes it much more pliable, so it's less likely to split as I wrap it around a mould. And what I have for a mould is this. This is a piece of cardboard that's been wrapped up in tape to a roughly circular shape. And you can't really tell, but it varies in thickness. And about here, where I've got that mark on, is where the thickness of the tube matches the thickness of the finger that I want the ring to go around. Now that's wrapped around, what I'm going to do is carefully place some more tape on it. And this tape isn't very strong because I don't want to damage the wood or mark it anyway. This is going on the front section that will actually be shown. And I'm just going to wrap it around. So having a tape around there, we'll just hold it in place and we're going to leave it there until it dries, which will take about 24 hours. And you make sure that the top area and the bottom area are actually open so that you can see the wood. That way it'll give the water a chance to escape, because if you completely sealed it all the way around, the water will just sit in there, because tape tends to be waterproof as it's a plastic. So what will happen now is that will dry out, and once it's dried it will try and maintain that kind of circumference, which is about what we want for the ring. And it will make it easier for us to work with in terms of actually creating it into a ring. So I'll see you in 24 hours. And now that the wood is permanently curled into a tight little ball, it's a lot easier to glue down. So we're going to get some super glue. Well, you know that feeling that you're doing something stupid and you carry on doing it anyway? Yeah. Now I've got to go really quickly and try and stick this all down.
I first tried to use it around the form, but then I got frustrated with that and just tried to use my finger instead, which means that pieces of my glove actually stuck to the inside. Now that that's dry, I'm going to use a small file in order to remove the bits of glove that were stuck to the inside of it. And now we're going to sand out the corners to try and make it a more smoothed edge. I'm going to begin with a 120 grit sandpaper and slowly move up to 800 grit. Once we move on to the gilding, in order to get into these small little grooves that I've cut, I'm going to use a bamboo toothpick in order to absorb some of the gilding paste and gently dab it into the grooves. "15 minutes later, when the glue has dried to the point that it's tacky, I'm going to use the toothpick in order to force some of the silver gilding into the grooves so that we can highlight the lettering. And now, because this is wood, it's probably going to react with the oils in the finger, so we're going to need to seal it somehow. I'm going to experiment here and use Mod Podge glaze. I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but I recorded this about a week beforehand, so check the description or the comments and I'll update you as to how well this is holding up. After applying several thick coats of Mod Podge, then we're going to run through another round of sanding.
It's as hot as Vulcan's forge. But there we have it, a ring made entirely out of wood. Now the gilding didn't go quite according to plan. You can't really see it too well. If I'd done it again, I'd probably get a darker wood or stain it darker. Now the lettering's not going to show up very well on film because the gloss is reflecting the light, and if I turn the lights off then the camera's not going to pick it up. So it was a fairly quick project. It ended up taking a little bit longer than I thought it would because just life gets in the way. But a fairly easy project, you can knock it out over a weekend. The longest part was waiting for it all to dry. So if you're interested in making an elven style wooden ring, so for a cosplay or something, if you're playing an elven wizard of some description, then that's a fun little project to do at home. And if you want to see more builds like this, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next video.